there are parts of India that also look like Germany. But Germany is very well developed. Guess what? They're also battling with what? Societal transformation. And in fact, this institute in Germany, this is one focus area for them. Interestingly, I like their approach. Why? Because I'm an engineer. I like the systems approach. Most of us here talk about systems of innovation, right? And there's this general conception that says national systems of innovation. I'm sorry, I don't agree with national. There is nothing national about it. Okay. Systems of innovation don't sit within geographical boundaries. Okay. So they don't sit within some cultural boundaries either. But they're battling with it as well. What are they going to overcome? A whole host of what? Subsystems that reinforce each other. What are the things that are the crux of those subsystems? Isn't it the way that the systems operate? What are the things that make systems operate? Isn't it the way we do things? And what is technology at the end of the day? Isn't it how we do things? Okay. So often we put too much emphasis on technology and forget about the fact that it's a society in the first instance. We're going to unpack some, I'm going to unpack some of these things as we go along. Let's see. So, Fiona, I decided to change the title of my presentation because the title that you gave me, which is the role of technology in societal transformation, was a bit too mouthful and difficult for me to unpack. So what I decided to do was, just as we all do research, one of the things that you do in research is what? You must define your problem statement, isn't it? If you don't identify the problem that you're going to be researching about, forget your research. So I said, well, what am I going to be speaking about really? Because that is not a problem. The role of technology in societal transformation is not a problem statement. What is it that I'm going to be dealing with? So I said, well, why don't we look at something like this? Because we know the technology permeates our society. There are two ways. I've not said anything new there. Isn't the challenge is how do we exploit technology to solve our problems? Well, because society will transform. Interestingly, I read somewhere, physiologically, man has not changed. So what has changed then? Isn't it in the way that we relate to each other and the way that we relate to our environment? And we seem to have gotten lazier, but we work a whole lot more, but lazier. Okay. So clearly technology has not made any difference in a sense, but technology has also made a difference in a lot of sense. Okay. So I changed it. I said, how do we exploit technology to solve our problems? Now, my background, my strength is asset management. That means that we must treat technology as what? An asset. Now, if you cast your mind around that, you realize an asset is something that gives you a means to realization of what? Value. Oops, new word, value. So we're looking at value propositions here, which exactly is what underlies society. Societies are based on certain value propositions. So that's where I'm going. So I said, well, if we look at that, then we're looking at technology as a means to transform society. Oh, or the other way around. Okay, now I know, and I'm going to hop on this a little bit, some of us who are younger here, we cannot listen to anybody without touching our phone or our computer. Now you see the transformation in society, and I'm going to come back to this. How do we take advantage of technology to tackle the challenges facing us? Okay, so it's not about technology. I will emphasize this. What are the challenges facing us? What are the challenges facing Kenya? Poverty. Are you sure? I hear it. Maybe it's a motherhood statement, poverty. What do you mean by poverty? Poverty of the mind? What type of poverty? We talk, because again, societal transformation. If we're not clear on what it is, we don't know what to apply technology to do. Technology carries with it an inherent culture, and I'll come back to that. What poverty are you trying to use technology to resolve? Poverty in terms of how much money you have in your pocket? Is that the real poverty? What is the poverty? Okay. We hear it from the politicians and we imbibe those words and then we just shoot them out. Poverty of what? What type of poverty? So, normally the political answer, poverty, right? Is it poverty? I said, well, what if we narrow it down the academic way? What exactly are we talking about? If we say poverty is a challenge, and I was deliberate on that, on asking you the question and hoping that you will say poverty, because that's classic. Let's look at it from an academic point of view. What do you mean by poverty? Forget technology yet. If you don't define what the problem is, you don't know how you're going to solve it, let alone looking for tools, processes, or methods to help you solve it. So academically, what is poverty? Is it the UN HDI index? You know, is it what we mean by what exactly do we mean within the Kenyan environment? Are you talking to who? I'll leave that. So what I've decided to do was to take a green approach. Guess what? I have to find a way out of here, okay? So I'm sort of middle of the road. I'll talk a little bit about technology, I'll talk about society, and I'll see how far I can provoke your minds. I looked at some of the papers, the abstracts and whatever, and I realized they're quite divergent, but hopefully we'll try and bring them together somehow. Okay? So I'm hoping that I can touch on a number of things. Is that a definition of technology for you?
Can you read the green aloud, please?
The green aloud?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can't read it, maybe others can.
Okay, I'm one of those guys who have problem with colors, so I'll get close enough to tell. Which one is green? This one? This one?
Yeah.
Oh, that one says hardware, firmware, instrument, tool. So technology can exist in a number of forms. Are we together here? So, one form is knowledge and know-how. This is the most tacit form of technology. Yeah? This is extremely tacit. You know what I mean by tacit, right? Yeah. That you can make explicit. This is very difficult to make explicit. And I'll come back to this again. Why is that so important? Indigenous knowledge is extremely tacit. That is why in our villages, as we grew up many years ago, some of you who are younger, no problem. Those of us who are on the other side of the fence, we know you learn from the elders by being where? Being close to them, right? Only the kids who learn from the elders will the elders allow to go to farm with. Can you remember that, some of you who come from villages? That means they're going to transfer this know-how to you only in tacit form. You can only learn by doing. The one that you put out, you can write down and whatever. What about method, process, technique? These are some of the things that are extremely difficult to patent. That's the intellectual property that's very difficult often to put in words. That's easy. That's the stuff that most people think is technology. This pointer, the computer, your phone, whatever. That's what people think is technology. Okay. So you can exist in those forms. Again, I'm opening up a number of things here. I'm not giving you all the answers yet. So that's those who like to to have lecture notes, you can, okay. But please, some of these slides I'll definitely give to you because they're not copyrighted. So I'll make sure that Fiona hands this to you. So don't try to make notes now. Just think, start thinking about the next 2.5 days. Technology. This is the one that most younger people hear. That's what they mean by technology, right? A whole host of words. ICT. Guess my new interpretation of ICT? Innovate, connect, transform. So that's my new ICT, not information communications technology, right? Innovate, connect, and transform. That's what's happening. You've heard about 2G, 3G, what is it, 4G, 5G. Which country is already on 5G? Anybody know? Which country is already on 5G? South Korea. Okay. Of course, if you're talking to Daewoo and LG and whatever, most of them have gone on 5G already. You're still talking 2G? Okay. Internet of Things, Industry 4.0. And then I sound really technological now, isn't it? I'm beginning to take out all the buzzwords. Digitalization, big data analytics, artificial intelligence, augmented reality. That's the one that's frightening me. Because I actually have a digital twin. Okay. I actually have a digital twin. You can actually capture all of my mannerisms and create me in a digital world. Do you know that? So who's talking to you? Machine learning. I'll show you a slide towards the end. Machines have learned. You know, one of the things that frightens me is the fact that we have created knowledge, transferred it to inanimate objects, which we are trying to give some animation, which will then make our animation capabilities redundant. It's frightening, isn't it? What are we going to be then? What is the society going to be like? When you have a digital twin of me, so who are you talking to? What society are you talking about? Again, here's a small quote there, but I don't want you to read it. It's just telling you what McKinsey and the rest of them are also experiencing in terms of this. Okay, let me do my professorial job. This is now where I wear my professorial hat. Innovation. Technology, innovation. What exactly are we talking about here? So what I've done is I've decided to define innovation very, very simply. Innovation is the creation of new value. There's so many definitions and whatever. I found just saying innovation, new value, makes a lot of sense to me. Because if there's no new value, there's nothing new. And it can be in various forms, where you look purely, this is now where it helps us to define what we mean by poverty. Which poverty are we talking about, my sister? Which one? This one? That one? Which poverty? So all of a sudden, poverty has dimensions. So that if we're going to apply technology to solve a poverty problem, we need to know which dimension of poverty we're referring to. That means then we have to be innovative. We have to find new ways or creating new values. Oh, if you're creating new value, then you're creating new value systems, which means you're changing society as well. Here's my simple, one of the nice things about being a professor is you get to a point where you simplify life, and people think it's that simple. I've got a very simple equation for you. Now, if you were in class, I will make you unpack that because there's a lot there. Yeah? It's the creation of value at a price in time that we can afford. I call this Economic Innovation Index. You'll see the social one later on. Let me unpack it briefly. So you have to create value, and that value varies with time. Isn't that how society operates? In no time, some of you have already, I observed one or two of us moving away from the air conditioning vents. When you first came in, it was lovely, wasn't it? Okay, because you were hot. Value proposition. In no time, you were now too cold. You're complaining about the same. So that is a variable all the time. There's a cost to it, and it has a time limit. Oh, so if we're going to deal with societal transformation, the transformation is not something that is fixed in time. Rather, it moves with time, doesn't it? Oh, so the technology has to also track it. So there's not one technology that will solve all the problems. No way. Even if it's a particular technology provides a solution, that solution is valid only for what? A certain time period. That's the reality of life. Since when did the phone become a camera? How many of you use your phones for the real telephone call? Most young people don't. I have children. Okay, they're all adults now. They still send me, please call me. So I have to use my phone like a phone, whereas they use theirs for what? Alerting me to call them. Are you following where I'm going? Social transformation. Okay. Well, technology must solve real human needs. I'm mindful of time, so I'm going to not try and raise everything, but here's an example that I just want to point out. This is a picture showing some ladies in Jordan looking for lime mines. But what I like about it is that it's a social entrepreneurship. So it is not the technology to find lime mines that is our problem. It is actually our social system that will help us find lime mines. I hope I'm making sense here. I can understand what I'm saying. I hope you're following me. Yeah? The technology to find lime mines is not a problem, it's there. But if there is no will to look for lime mines, the technology is not going to solve that problem. Are you following where I'm going? Okay, how do we then form that? Or you're going to get a company that's going to charge people money. Well, who's going to pay? Why don't we say it's a problem for us? Maybe we can then use the technology to do what? Attend to our problems. Because we're creating value for us automatically without exchanging money. So my colleagues who are economics and whatever, you talk about this whole social appropriation, and it doesn't quite fall into your normal microeconomics world of supply and demand. But from a value point of view, it falls in because it's value. That was one example. Okay, let me venture into an area where I'm not really very strong. What do our societies look like? One of the nice things that I think we have is this thing called Ubuntu. You've heard about Ubuntu? Yeah? I am because you are. Okay? We are a very indigenous people. I challenge my colleagues from Europe and US and every other part of the world when we step out from the continent. They have a luxury. I have a colleague who's supervising 1 or 2 PhD students in Europe and is complaining, and I'm supervising 1 or 2 PhD students in Africa, and I'm looking at him and saying, this guy, you got a problem, man. The guys that I'm supervising don't have electricity. You don't even know about that problem. I'll give you an instance. A young 12-year-old, born in the UK, never visited Nigeria before, arrives in Nigeria for the first time. At night, he wakes up in the middle of the night and screams that he's gone blind. Now, his context, he has never known electricity not to be there. Are you following where I'm going? So instead of saying there's no electricity, he feels he's gone blind. That is a society we're talking about. So when I speak to my colleagues, I say, that's what I'm dealing with. You take internet connectivity for granted. I don't have that luxury. But I still produce PhDs. So you guys are greater than you thought you are. You can actually produce PhDs with people who don't have internet connectivity, and they can still make it. What are we looking at? We're looking at urbanizing informal settlements. I'm sure you can cast your mind. Right here in Nairobi, you know those places, right? You give them some interesting names, huh? They're urbanized society. What do I mean by urbanized? You've broken down a lot of the traditional cultures. You come from Kisumu, the other one comes from there, and we all come together. But there's no real structure, but there's a structure. You know what I mean? Okay, we give them names. Then we have this one here, which is a real problem for us in the continent. We have what I call urban densification. You have that in Nairobi. Everybody from anywhere has a relative here in what? Nairobi. And we're all in the same space. Then you have people like Professor Dole and Professor Mbai. I can only use you two guys because then they move out. All of a sudden that place is too, then they move out into this, those areas, and we still have to get electricity to them and water to them. So we have these things happening, and those things have to be underlined by technology somehow. We have urban densification and urban sprawling. These are challenges that sometimes when we borrow examples from other parts of the world, in terms of their technology solutions, they don't work. They cannot work because they're not dealing with the same things at all. Pockets of suburban, and we have very, very, very pockets of highly formalized settlements that you don't even recognize in Africa. Come to South Africa, you will see them. And I tell South Africans, this is not Africa. I've flown from Pretoria, Johannesburg to here, and I'm in a hotel 4-star. So when did I get to Kenya? I was never in Kenya. I just flew from another part of, I hope you're following where I'm going. That is not, how is technology going to help me now? In transforming the society, I'm living in my world. From Pretoria to here, I'm living in my world. The only difference that I found was that the internet is a bit slower than what I have that side. That's all. But otherwise, it's the same world that I live in. I haven't stepped out of the street. As I said, I complain about the food. I know I can eat better snapper. Not this one here. Why can't that type of snapper be served here? Isn't the technology here? Those are the challenges that I'm putting to us. And then the other side. Ooh. Okay, I have to be careful here that I don't say any words that might put me in trouble. What are we looking like? What is the polity looking like? You and me. What are our governance structures looking like? These are some of our nice things that, don't we want technology to help us deal with some of these things? But isn't the technology there already? Coming from the airport yesterday, one of the things I expected to find when I arrived in Nairobi, that the first circle, when you come out of the airport, I was telling the taxi driver, he says, have you been here before? I said, yeah, I've been here before. He said, you speak like you live here. I said, I only need one traffic jam and I will feel like I live here. Okay, I come from the, I said, oh, have we met the first roundabout yet? He says, no. I said, okay. And the second one, and the third one, why can't we solve that problem? Isn't technology there to solve the problem? Why are we looking for something bigger? You know what was in my mind? How many cars? Yeah? Dr. Ozo, you will know this one. A good technology when you can walk the distance. changing because of technology or because we are changing and exploiting technology? I don't know which comes first. My mother still wants me home. I am 60 years old and my mother still wants to touch my skin. Phone calls don't do it. So I don't know. Technology disrupts. Technology will make you uncomfortable. I said to my mother, but I've just spoken to you. She says, yes, but when are you coming? For me, it was okay. Now I'm realizing what she's saying because I want to see my grandchildren. My granddaughter is going to be 5 years old, and I wish I could physically touch her, not just, but for her, hello, granddad, blah, 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 it's okay, get on with it. How do we communicate these days? Have you sat amongst young people? And I ask them, why is it that you can't talk to me here? You're talking to somebody else there with your phone, and when you get to them, you are talking to somebody else and not them. So when do you talk to somebody next to you? Why is this important? How do you know they have a problem? The only time now that young people know you have a problem, saying that technology will help us leapfrog to what? From where? Where are we now? What do we want? Where are we? I was listening to the news last night and this morning. Two things struck me. One is about Kenya, one is about French, Swedish French. The Swedish French people, they are talking about loneliness. They have all the material things, but they're lonely. We were dealing with an issue where somebody had stolen a child. Technology, which one? What is the technology going to solve? Those are very, very contrasting environments. If you speak to us in the urbanized area and speak to the majority of our population in the non-urbanized rural area, what technology are we talking about? These are really the challenges that we have. Which part of the society are we going to transform? And which technologies are we going to engage? Those are the real challenges that we have. Let me give a few hows, then I'll close. Well, these are some of what I will call primary technology levers. Ladies and gentlemen, number one is energy. How we deal with energy. Technologies to make sure that we have energy to power our societies going forward. Whether it's a rural society or an urbanized society, we need energy. And I am glad that one of the energy forms that is being developed is somebody's tapping the energy given off by cars riding over the roads. You know, I didn't realize that until I thought about it. So, yeah, do you realize almost every car we drive is over 1 ton in weight? Yes? Where are my physicists here? Okay, 1 ton sitting on at what? Atmospheric pressure, maybe Nairobi is slightly higher, not quite atmospheric. Okay. So just look at that. You have something of a certain density. Isn't it mv squared? But you're transferring mv squared vertically. Am I speaking to physicists? Please correct me if I'm wrong. You've got a mass that is moving at some velocity, right? But also transferring, if you can rotate that force and convert it, that's energy, isn't it? Freely produced, all the time. What is it that, how do we generate electricity? Isn't it through pressure? Electricity is purely through pressure, isn't it? We drive a turbine from steam pressure. Oh, so you mean if we have road material, yeah, instead of this asphalt that we lay, that we now start thinking carefully of laying some material that will transfer that force, right, directly to a turbine. We've got electricity generators sitting everywhere. Interestingly, if you do the maths, a 2 kilometers road that is got about 70% utilization can generate sufficient electricity to actually power Nairobi. Oh, so you mean all these cars sitting here generating, yeah, on this hold up can actually be generating electricity for Nairobi. Something to think about. Why is that so good? Well, let them sit there, they generate electricity, so we're actually converting that into something useful. So if you can't get through the political problem okay, of decongesting Nairobi, maybe you should do that. Okay, that's something. The other one is connectivity. Those two are what I call the primary technology levers for us to transform our society. Whether it is rural, semi-rural, whatever, we have to have two things. We had it in the past. We had it in the past, albeit not at the same level. But with a globalizing world, we need higher levels of connectivity. Connectivity doesn't just mean teleconnectivity, also connectivity in other forms. There's so much food wasted in our rural Africa. We have the food, but it can't get to these population centers. I'm sure I'm speaking to the, okay. Here's one area that people are talking about more and more. For those formal systems have to be resilient. Resilient to political disruptions, resilience to environmental disruptions, resilience to our individual, I know Kenya, you're just about dealing with your new constitution, right? And I think you have now imbibed the Bill of Rights, something like that. And I like somebody saying, it's not about Bill of Rights, it's actually a Bill of Responsibilities. Okay. Our systems have to be resilient to us talking about our rights. How can technology be used to solve that? Those are some of the things. Well, we have to find new ways of doing business. So here's where I'm going to challenge you guys. Dr. Ozo, I'm glad you dressed like that. My brother Prof, I'm glad you dressed like that. Let me ignore some people and talk to some other people. Let me make the point here. Do you know that there's so much knowledge and know-how which we don't have to learn to produce this? Every time we go this other route, we are moving to a whole knowledge path that takes longer. Remember my equation? So why can't we start by doing business that takes on our advantage? Why can't we start by looking at those technologies that will exploit our natural advantage first? Why don't we unlearn? I'm sure some of you would have heard these terms before, right? You have to unlearn. Some of us have learned to be one way that is so difficult for us to unlearn. That's what the new societal transformation is asking. It's asking us to what? Unlearn so that we can learn. Because that's what the technology is forcing you to do. That is also what you're forcing the technology to do. I made the joke to my kids. My son, being the youngest, was always out of the TV because the girls wanted to watch girls' programs. So he converted the remote control from a remote control to a missile. Now, that is, learning and unlearning. Because he was in that environment, he unlearned and learned a new way, which was not quite the way we wanted him to go. Because the value system doesn't agree with that. Okay. Can we please exploit technologies that actually take advantage of our natural advantage? Sanova Panafric. There's nothing stopping TUK from getting young people to make sure that Sanova Panafric does not give me pan-seared snapper but gives me proper snapper. The same thing they're using to make it in those restaurants there. Why can't we use it here, for goodness sake? Why can't the music that I hear here in Panova, South Africa, that flows through their PA system, why can't it be a Kenyan song? Why does it have to be a classical? How do I get the market to my Kenyan song if I can't put it here? Are you following where I'm going? These are the things, that's how we transform. That's how the technology helps us transform our society. If you get into an Emirates flight, you will feel somehow that you are in Arabia. You get into a Kenya Airways flight, you think you're in England. Excuse me? So what happened to all the niceties? When are we going to start doing that? Isn't the aircraft a technology that can help us push ourselves forward? Where is our society transforming to? To what? To something that we're not. So those are the things. We need to foster interoperability. We really need to foster interoperability. That I can unpack during the question time. We need to preserve the ecology. So, my suggestion for solutions, 1, we have to develop social entrepreneurship. We cannot, as people who are basically Ubuntu-driven, start to talk about economic entrepreneurship. I'm not suggesting that social entrepreneurship does not have economic value. I'm just saying if we start from the profit orientation, which is not what because our conceptual, how we came about as Africa is not primarily purely in economic profit. It doesn't mean going back to socialism, no. It just means that somehow we have to share the same value and come together and get it to. That's what I'm speaking about here. There's so much natural advantage. I really, I had a situation where I was addressing the Parliamentary Committee on Science in South Africa Parliament. And this was my quarter. I actually dressed in my babariga. And when I arrived there, I said, how many of you? Mandela made this famous. So I thought, I'm going to, why can't we do this? Because every time you do this, you're emphasizing Mandela and what? Not Mandela as a person, but Mandela as what? Value. Are you following where I'm going? How many of our tailors can't do this? This is normal for them. This is easy for them. This does not require a lot of science for them to do this type of things. The materials are here. Why are we not doing that? Those are our challenges. We have the technology, we have sewing machines. Why don't we sew our clothes? What is wrong with that? Isn't that a simple solution? Wouldn't that put a lot of our people at work? Every time you buy pizza, you send money to Italy. Because you are expanding on their intellectual property. I see my economic friends are very happy with this. So let's start doing those things. Social entrepreneurship is my first point. Why? Because naturally, we are a social people. Even if you're European, you're still a social, human beings are social, but Africans were even more social. The food doesn't taste that great until you have eaten it with somebody else, isn't it? So, isn't it because we have some values? The story doesn't make a lot of sense until everybody else hears it and laughs. So isn't that social entrepreneurship anyway? So we have to find new ways of configuring this social entrepreneurship. It cannot just be purely from measuring economics. So I always quarrel with my colleagues when they talk about innovation and they talk about Frascati. I know some of you are falling into that trap. And OECD and percentage of R&D spend and, excuse me. You talk to the majority of Kenyans about percentage of R&D spend. They'll look at you and say, that's the one that has been stolen by those Europeans. But if you tell them about our shared values, the fact that, again, somebody was saying on TV, if you talk to the people in our villages. They watch TV, but do you know the programs that get them excited? Oh, that man settled with his wife. We in the suburban, what do we talk about? How much profit we made. Can you see where the disparity lies? It's the same TV, right? The same technology being used to address what? The content is very different. But if we come to with them and have we have same problems in the urban areas, we have divorces. In the villages, they don't call them divorce because it's not allowed. But it's still the same type of problems. Okay. So, here's the second equation. This is the professorial part. The equations are very similar, but the words are different. Because this benefit is not easily measured. Okay? Some of the things you can measure quantitatively, but this is not a quantitative measure. It's a composite measure of both quantitative and... Notice the bottom now becomes price. So before it was cost, now it's price. What is society prepared to pay to get a certain benefit? That's the question. And when? For how long? What price did Kenya pay for the last elections fracas? I'll leave that to you guys. What benefit did you get? I'll leave that to you. Yeah, I see the DVCs telling me it's time. I like that. Who's driving who? When did he say this? Sometime at the turn of the 19th century. It's still valid. Who's driving who? Values. Okay, it's not about technology. It's about our shared values. Where can we find what values we share? And then the technology will then solve that problem. As long as our values diverge, there's no technology that's going to solve that problem. Asante sana.
We'll take maybe a question or two, and maybe limit ourselves to two at most.
Okay, thank you so much for your talk. Now, the question I wanted to ask you about technology, we get so much excited about technology, but we don't understand. Myself, I'm a scientist, and to me, technology is a mere product of science. So at the end of the day, we don't imagine what science citizen imply rather than technology. So on this context, the question I have for you is, how do we handle the fact that technology is getting into the wrong hands? And for instance, technology is enabling the far leftists and the far rightists to get a platform. And the example I want to give you is like social media. You know, the far leftists and far rightists were people you will never want to give them a platform in a case where there was no technology. You know, you wouldn't want to hear a madman start talking of ideologies that are completely inhuman. But today technology has given that platform. And then, so if you look at technology and the way we are exploiting it, you can see our enlightenment is coming down. We are not getting much brighter. We are killing citizen science, which is the premises on which over the last 200, in fact starting the 19th century, we are grateful for the two discoveries in science, that's the quantum and the relativity that has made everything what it is. So my question is, what direction do you think this will take the next generation now that technology is helping us build a dystopia just to make people click on ads without anything? We are building idiots because of technology. Okay, thank you.
I don't know that I have a direct answer to your question, but let me expand your question. Is it about technology or is it about values? If we have the same value system, why would we have a leftist and a rightist? So why would we send out propaganda, which is what you're more or less implied, to change somebody's ideology or whatever? The only way that I see that technology will help us transform to what we regard as a better society is if we define a better society. Why do you think that person who's sending out the thing, because he's a leftist, doesn't think leftist is a better society? I think we just need to find out what are the fundamental values. That's an utopia, but shouldn't technology take us to utopia? So I can't answer your question. We just have to deal with what is happening. The more interesting thing is that for the young people, and as I told them, I said, look, I probably have 30, 40 years left. Okay? If I get up to Mugabe, I probably do 40 years. But you, in your 20s, you probably have 60 years. What are the values that are going to define your 60 years of your life? I think that's where I take comfort. You know, as I say to my children, how do you imagine the next 10 years, 20 years, 40 years? Because you probably will be around. I can imagine 10, 15, 20, 30, but I'm not so sure I should be imagining 50. I can imagine it, but I won't be here. So that's how I see it. I'm not so sure I want to see it left, right, the ideologies or whatever. I want to say, what is the next 10 years going to look like in Kenya? So where do you as a person want to see Kenya go? Do you want to see a Kenya where you will become lonely? Well, tough. That's where the technologies that you're going to invest in. Do you want to see a Kenya where you will be part of society, be happy with the friends and whatever? Maybe those are the technologies you drive. So I'm not sure I'm answering your question, but that's because the technology does not provide a solution to a problem that is not real.